This is Gabby Ray Talker, here to present part 2 of my video titled The Mark of the Beast, My Real Life Experience and My Interpretation About It. And for part 2, I will present research details which supports my interpretation to what I believe the Mark of the Beast is all about. If you have not seen part 1 of my Mark of the Beast video, I suggest you go back and watch that one before proceeding with this one. This video will just provide the research details of video 1. So let's get started. Previously, I did a video called The Mark of the Beast, My Real Life Experience and My Interpretation About It. In that video, I explained that I was doing research on the Mark of the Beast, and I woke up with this on my arm, a crescent moon mark. And in that video, I interpreted the mark that appeared on my arm to be a direct indication of Islam in terms of my Mark of the Beast study. Then, immediately after I posted the video, somebody posted a message on it stating,
"The crescent moon was used in a lot of countries. You need to be careful you don't offend people."
Then I said, the majority of countries that use the crescent moon symbol on their flags are predominantly Islamic. Then I said, the only one that's offending is you with your negative attitude. First of all, I never said anything bad about Islam. From what I know about the crescent moon, it seemed like that would be an indication of Islam. And what I said in my previous video is that I've seen protesting of Muslims on YouTube channels saying they will dominate the world. I would think for them that's a good thing. After I had my crescent moon mark experience, I told a professor of Islam about my Mark of the Beast study and the crescent revelation that appeared on my arm. I told him that I interpreted the mark to be a direct indication of Islam. He did not take offense to my interpretation at all, but rather he had 4 simple words as a response, and that was,
"Allah is calling you. Come and learn about Islam."
From there, in my research of the crescent moon and the Mark of the Beast, I went to the Quran myself and began to read. As I read, it appears that Muslims would not be offended with my crescent moon mark interpretation linking Islam with the Mark of the Beast. And here's why. In the Quran, it clearly states, "And when the word is fulfilled concerning them, we shall bring forth a beast of the earth to speak unto them, because mankind had not faith in our revelations." And that's a direct quote from Quran 2782. They explain, the Prophet of Islam declared the first signs that will come is the rising of the sun from the place of its setting and emergence of the beast upon the people. Whichever of these two occurs before the other, then the other is right behind it. So this means at some point, according to the Quran, they will be expecting a beast as measures to set the non-Muslims straight. So I would take it that the verse of Quran 2782 supports my theory that states the Mark of the Beast is about Islam. On that note, I have many other supportive details that support my interpretation that the crescent moon mark that appeared on my arm was an indication of Islam in my Mark of the Beast research. But first, I will cover the background history of the crescent moon. symbol use. The crescent moon symbol actually predates Islam by several thousand years. According to the experts, information on the origins of the symbol are difficult to ascertain, but most sources agree that the ancient celestial symbols were in use by Central Asia and Siberia in the pagan worship of sky gods. There are also reports that says that the crescent was used to represent Celtic goddess. The crescent moon and star were used to represent Greek goddess Diana. That dates back to a battle in which the Romans were defeated by the Greeks on the first day of a lunar moon. As a result, the crescent moon was featured on the ancient Greek city's flag in the BC area. Despite the various usage of the crescent moon symbol, still, it does not take away from its ancient roots of moon worship. In fact, one of the oldest moon worshipping groups were called the Sabaeans. They used the crescent moon as a symbol of worship during 2nd millennium BC. They were known for moon worship and idolatrous practices. It's been recorded that during the BC era, the Sabaean rites also included a ritual of worship similar to modern-day Muslims. They prayed 5 times a day. They performed movements during prayer, ceremonial washings before each prayer, but most importantly, the Sabaeans celebrated Ramadan as early as 500 BC. During this period, the Sabaeans fasted for 30 days as sacrifice to the moon in moon worship. Similarly, Muslims celebrate Ramadan, but they say the moon is a sign of God and not moon worship. In any event, in modern day times, it can be seen that Muslims do follow in similar practices as the ancient Sabaeans. For instance, at the coming of Ramadan, they await to spot the sight of the crescent moon. Some would ask, if the Sabaeans observed Ramadan as early as 500 BC, which is before the Prophet of Islam existence, then at what point did the Muslims adopt the event of Ramadan? The answer to that is that Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, incorporated Ramadan into Islamic events during his lifetime of 570 to 632 AD. According to religiousresearchinstitute.org, during this period, he joined the Sabaeans in Mecca before claiming to be a prophet. After he claimed to be a prophet, he was still called a Sabaean by the inhabitants of Mecca because they saw him performing many Sabaean rites, such as praying 5 times a day, performing several movements in prayer, ceremonial washings before each prayer, and the celebration of Ramadan. In turn, similar worship forms of the Sabaeans can be seen in modern-day Islamic practices. And here's another interesting fact about the Sabaeans. They are mentioned in the Quran in 3 places: Quran 262, Quran 569, and Quran 22:17. And these verses basically says, for the non-believers of Islam, those who believe in Allah will receive a reward, have no fear, but if not, they will be judged on Judgment Day. So let's pause here for a minute with my explanation of why I linked the crescent moon mark that appeared on my arm with Islam. And that is, I have traced the oldest usage source of the crescent moon symbol. When I research and investigate something, I always trace the source from when, where, and how something started. A lot of times, to understand something, we have to go to the root cause and trace the source. For example, if a gardener wants to manage their crops, they go to the source of growth. Or when detectives investigate a crime, they trace the source. Or when doctors want to determine someone's medical condition, they look at the patient's background and when the condition started. In any event, they trace the source. Now, even though the crescent moon was and is used in various cultures and countries, I first researched one of the oldest groups that use the crescent moon symbol. And I have traced its roots, which is as early as 500 BC by the Sabaeans. On top of that, their practices are similar to Islamic practices. And to top it off, the Sabaeans are mentioned in the Quran. This concludes part 2. Please see the continuation of my crescent moon research in part 3.